What are your plans to enhance STEM education in the schools, given kind of where we're going from a society perspective and how important technology is in this day and age?
Absolutely. You know, STEM, and I like to add STEAM in there as well, the arts, it is so important right now. We have to prepare our kids for jobs that we don't even know exist. So what skills do they need now? You know, what do we pour into them now that will help them for jobs that we don't even know will exist 10 years from now, 5 years from now? So it all starts with this. We have a team here, and I've been able to work with some different schools here that are doing some things in the STEM field, whether it's EBR School, whether it's Liberty, that people are doing some things already. I don't think it should just be contained to just specific schools. STEM has to permeate all of our schools. We have to be doing the things that are required to build those skills in those kids in every single one of our schools. So you take your team. I know they have a talented group of people who are already working on those things, and we need to elevate that. We need to say, okay, brainstorm, because I'm a big believer in working together as a team. Okay, here's the issue. How do we put STEM into all of our schools? What do we do? How do we do it? And then you create a plan to implement those things into the schools. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You find places who are doing it well, and again, in some of our schools, we are doing it well. But how can we make sure it's in all of our schools? And that's the key. How do you scale it out? So those will be my plans coming in.
I've got one question. I'm sorry. After you, please. Well, again, Mr. George, thank you for being here and dedicating time for our community. From my perspective, this is a defining moment, not only in the history of Baton Rouge and our state, but I have one question for you, and it's focused on really the sense of urgency for overall where we're at this time. If you look at the environment, how do you immediately come in, earn the trust and respect of parents, educators, and staff, while maximizing the educational potential of every child within our system, and simultaneously meet the projected needs of the Baton Rouge community here within the state and city and beyond?
It's such an easy question. I like that. Great question. So first of all, trust. You don't trust someone when you first meet them. Trust is something that you earn by doing what you say and saying what you do over time. Okay? So yeah, on day one, it's not like all of a sudden people are just going to trust me and say, hey, who's this guy? What is he about? What is he going to do? So we start laying the foundation. First you listen. Authentically listen to people. Don't come in with a plan already. Here's what we want to do. Now tell me what you want. Okay, we're still doing this. No, you have to, when you listen to people and then use that feedback into the plans that you're creating, you start to earn that trust. You have to be fair and you have to be consistent. When I think about trusting someone, those are the questions that I'm asking. Is that person being fair? Are they being consistent? Are they being true to their word? Okay, are they doing the things that are best for the school system? That's how you earn that trust. So when you talk about the greater, the business community and everything, we're all one community, right? So what's good for the community should be good for the business community as well. I don't look at those two things as being opposite or opposing one another. We have to pull everything together. This city, one of the reasons why I applied for this job is because I believe that just looking at all the different faces of different organizations that's represented here today, there's so many resources here, so many tools. We just need the right person to come in and galvanize everyone, from the school board to the employees, to our students, to the business community. We're not fighting one another. We're fighting for this community. And when we pull everybody together, that's when you create, that's when the magic happens, right? So, but it's very difficult. I'm not going to say it's easy, but this is what I can promise you that as the superintendent of EBR. I'm going to come in and listen to anyone who has ideas. I'm going to listen to all of our stakeholders. I'm going to listen to our parents, our students, our employees, and the business community. Anyone who has a great idea, we're going to do our best to implement it in our school system. So it's going to take time with trust, but it starts from the beginning. It starts by listening and listening to your people.
So, Mr. George, my question was sort of aligned with Pierre's question. Can you share an example where you had a change that you wanted to implement, but you were met with resistance? Can you just walk us through it and how was it eventually implemented or what happened?
One jumps right to mind. When I was superintendent in St. John the Baptist Parish, we were looking at implementing the NIET program, TAP, for educators out there who know what that is. And so we didn't just say we were going to do it. What we did was, first we did a pilot in one school who we wanted to do. We said, hey, look, any volunteers who want to try this and see how it works, and then we can kind of go from there. So we, the person volunteered, that principal volunteered for her school into that process. And then even then, after that year, we brought in all of our principals, went over all the different steps of what it would mean. We wanted to hear from them, what were their concerns. Okay, you talk to some folks in the central, what are the bad things, what are the good things? We wanted to hear all those things, and not until we got to a consensus did we implement that change. In education, I see it. I see people from the top say, we're doing this because I like it, I love it, so guess what, all 75 schools, that's what we're doing. I think that's the wrong approach. Because if you make somebody do something, they don't want to do it. It's not going to be implemented with fidelity, it's not going to work. You're going to have unhappy people, you're going to have all kinds of stuff going on. And this is what I believe, if you don't feed the teachers, they eat the students, right? And so you have to make sure that your teachers are fed, and they're full, and if they're fed and full, they're going to be happy, they're going to do a better job. The quickest way to upset people is just to force something down their throats. No, we want to here's the problem, here's a possible solution. Now let's talk about how we can implement this, how we can make it work, or if it can work, right? And that's how I like to implement new programs and get the buy-in.
So how did it eventually?
Yeah, great. Actually, it worked. The principals said, you know what, this is something that we feel all of us can use. And we actually applied for a national grant. We got a few $1 million to implement that grant to do a TAP-wide, school-wide TAP model in our school system.
Mr. George,
Yes,
question.
yes.
Given the current enrollment in the schools, given the demographics in our city, where our children are coming from, and we have the EBR system, we have public, private, parochial, charter, and now we have education savings accounts coming. So what do you think that the EBR system should look like in 5 years? Giving you 5 years?
5 years. Some people want it like now.
Well, no, in 5 years,
Yes.
what should this community look like?
Great. First of all, I drink plenty of coffee every day. All right, so this is what it should look like in 5 years. I think Baton Rouge is a city that has a great portfolio of schools. It's, I'm a strong believer that parents shouldn't be locked in to having to go to a specific school. I think they should be able to have the choice of which schools they can go to. And when I look at the current map, of course, there's several private schools, there are charter schools, we have magnet schools, we have traditional schools. My job as a superintendent is to make sure all of our schools in this city are doing well. I'm a proponent of good schools. That's what I'm a proponent of. My main job, obviously, is to make sure our traditional schools are performing well, but people look at our schools as the first choice. But we want to go to those traditional EBR public schools. But not everyone wants to do that, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So if your preference, if you want to go to Helix or CSAL or one of these schools, that, hey, our job is to make sure that every school in the city is doing well. So when I look at 5 years from now, I see schools that are full, because right now, as I look at numbers, a lot of our schools are not where they need to be enrollment-wise. So is that the right mix? Is that the right way that we should be spending our dollars? Is there a better way to consolidate things and to make sure that we're using our dollars efficiently and effectively? So I know that's going to be a thing that the next superintendent will have to look at, and to ensure that we're leveraging in all our dollars. We don't have money to waste. We don't. And so let's make sure that we're spending our money effectively. So 5 years from now, I see full schools. I see we may not have as many schools, All right, we don't have as many schools, right? And, but I do see us thriving, and if you give me 5 years, we're gonna have a school system that's either a B or A grade. I'm gonna tell you now, that's what I do. I move schools. Look at my record. That's what I do. I know I do that. So I'm very excited about that opportunity.
Can I just mention that?
Yes.
Sorry, I jumped you first. I love the confidence in getting to A or B rated schools. I think there's a significant challenge in getting us there. Recent data that was shared a couple of months ago from the Opportunity Data Project shows alarming trends in early childhood literacy in Baton Rouge. So specifically, over 50% of students pre-COVID were arriving in kindergarten unprepared, and post-COVID, 60 to 70% are arriving in kindergarten unprepared. More concerning, about 25% of low-income children scored a 0 in readiness assessments, compared to a national average of 10. So as EBR superintendent, what will be your strategy to address that, to implement and address this challenge facing early childhood readiness specifically?
Yeah, so that is the hardest part of being in the system. You start in kindergarten, pre-K, and receiving a kid that just woefully behind. Because you know, in various households, kids are going to come in various different places. We have to invest in early childhood. There's been some strides made in the last few years, state, local, and everywhere in between. We have to double down on that. Kids have to come to kindergarten ready. So what do we do for 3, and then what do we do in pre-K to ensure that kids are prepared to learn come kindergarten? You know, I've gone on the days when, you know, the kindergarten was like, oh, it's play, it's these things. Yeah, there's play involved, but kids are learning to write and read in kindergarten. So we have to prepare them early on. So I believe a huge investment is required. And so
How are you going to address, obviously a wide swath of students that are already in the system and not prepared?
So that's what we do every day as educators, okay? If you have someone, let's say at the end of kindergarten, they're not ready to go on their next assessment or whatever, we have to be very creative in what we're doing during the summer, during the school day. Because guess what? Everyone may not come to school, okay? Or they may not get what they need from the school. So what kind of schedules do we create? What type of leeway do we give administrators to create different schedules for kids who, this is not a technical term, I used to term all the time, a kid who, kindergarten, yeah, they quite not in first grade, but they don't really need to repeat kindergarten, so what do you do in that first grade? So you have a 1.5 or a 0.5 or whatever you want to call it, but you have to give principals that are timely to kind of create those different structures. I've seen places where they're very rigid, like you gotta have this, you gotta have that, but you can't cookie cutter this thing. There are some processes that we gotta have system-wide, but at the end of the day, who knows the kids best than the principals and the teachers in the schools? Give them that autonomy and say, hey, this is what we're going to do here in this space. So I believe it's about, you hire principals and you hire teachers because they're experts on what they do. You gotta listen to them as well.
Okay, Mr. George. In your first 100 days, what do you plan to achieve and how do you plan to achieve those things?
Yeah, so when I look at the first 100 days, it's what I like to call it listen, learn, and then put things into action. I want to do a lot of listening. Obviously, I'm from the outside, and I live here in the city. I've seen things. I've worked with certain individuals in the school system. I've seen some schools, I've visited some schools, but it's nothing like when we get there, we get access to everything, right? So my first 90 days, first 100 days will be a lot of listening, understanding what the priorities are. You have to start, as a superintendent, I work for the school, okay? I work for the people, but I work for the school, okay? And I have to understand their priorities and the things that they have to accomplish in the system and get a good value, so there is no miscommunication between the superintendent and the board. I gotta understand their values, their priorities, and then we go from there. My next thing is to meet with our staff, meet with our people, our various staffs, whether it's our principals, teachers, support staff and making sure they understand that we can't do anything if our support staff doesn't do their job. If our kids can't get to school, if our buildings aren't clean, if the kids aren't being fed, then the teachers can't do their job. Point blank. So we gotta make sure we do basic things and what we do there. So meeting with them to hear their concerns about what needs to happen in the school system. Then it's meeting with our business community, right? So when you say things, we're gonna meet with it again about, okay, what are the things that you're looking to achieve? What are you looking for more of out of the school system? Working with our parents, hearing their needs. So it's a big listening to them, listening to everyone, and then coming back after those 100 days and present, say, here's what I found. Now, for me, my philosophy is you gotta have the effective teacher in every classroom, the effective leader in every building. And if we know those things to be true, then what do we do? Because all the things that I just talked about, if you don't have an effective teacher in the classroom or the effective leader in the building, it doesn't matter. It won't happen. It won't happen. So those are, again, the basic things that we need to accomplish. But again, it's about having those, it's old fashioned. It's not hard. It's about getting out there and being that listening person, authentically listening to people, to understand what are the needs of the business, what are the needs of our parents, and go through all of our constituencies, and then you create. And so my first 100 days will be on the ball. I'm going to have tennis shoes on because I'm going to be moving and listening to people and talking to people. Because again, they don't know me. I'm not from that village. I've lived there for 3 years. Some staff know me. Most of the staff don't. So I need to make sure that they know my face and understand what I'm about.
Mr. George, we're about a month from the start of school.
Yes.
And of course, you live here, so you know the epic failure in operations last year with the busing.
Yes.
What is, as a superintendent, you're the head administrator of the system, what do you do to improve the administration of our system so these failures of basic services don't happen again, and we provide a much needed better customer service to the families and students?
I'm glad you asked that question because yes, I was having nightmares thinking about the issues that parents, administrators, and everyone was having last year as I was watching that the school year situation. It keeps me up now, anticipating getting this job and having to make sure that we don't have a repeat of last year. So here's where we are. As I always start looking at myself first. Anytime there's an issue, there's an error, a problem in the district, I would like to personalize failure and say, hey, what could I have done differently to ensure that this didn't happen? Okay, I always start pointing at my directors or my chiefs or whoever. I pointed at myself first. Okay, how did I let this slip out? And then what can we do? I've listened to, I think, the most recent board meeting has a presentation done about transportation. Looks like we made some strides there, but it still keeps me up at night. But if I'm appointed on the 11th, on the 12th, I need to make a phone call and say, hey, okay, I need to download this information where we offer our transportation. Because again, as I said earlier, if we don't have a teacher in the classroom, we don't have an effective leader, we can't get the kids to school. It doesn't matter what the business is. It doesn't matter what will happen if we're not able to receive the information. So it is imperative that the superintendent, that I am aware of any potential issues that are there. And we do that by our regular check-ins with our chiefs and ensure that. Thank you.
Mr. George. So Joyce is an all-time national statewide policies and strategies that you implement to improve the student safety.
Yeah, truancy. So here's the deal with truancy. Everyone in the state understands the importance of attending school. And it sounds simple, like, okay, but oftentimes folks may believe, well, he must have been here and there, it's not really a big deal. Pretty soon they get in there, it's up to 12 absent per person. All right? And so just understanding the importance
That's the bottom line. Understanding that importance and making sure that they're good with that. The next thing is, we have to have, if a child missed school and parent isn't called or no one does anything, then it continues to build. So we have to be very proactive or very active. Kid misses a day, we jumping on it like it's the end of the world, because it literally can be. All right. So what do we have in place as a school system? Again, I love creating processes and systems to ensure that stuff like this doesn't happen. So what happens when a child misses one day? What happened when a child misses 2, 3, and 4? We should have a step on what happens district-wide on what happens every step of the way, because we can have kids, because if they're not in school, they're not learning. Okay, and then of course there could be more serious things that can occur if kids are unattended and at home and no one's checking in, no one's calling, no one's doing anything about it. So the truancy, and it takes a real partnership with the school system and the sheriff's department or whatever, the sheriff's department, the judges. We all have to be on the same page as far as the things that we want to do. No one wants to get a parent into legal trouble because their child is not coming to school, but there's a balance somewhere in there where it's not, we don't want to arrest people and have them pay money and do things like that, but we have to let them know that it's important that their child comes to school. And when we get all of those different groups on the same page, where's the judges, where's the DA's office, law enforcement, the school system, let's agree on what those things are that we do when children miss school. Because when children miss school, they don't learn. They can sometimes go out and do some silly things, and then that creates problems for us all. So we have to take that as important when kids, starting from day one, okay, what happens?
Mr. George,
Yes.
can you talk a little bit more about your leadership style, especially how you envision your cabinet, if there are any new roles you would create, how you would deal with ineffectiveness, and also how you would deal with any division on your board, division with St. George?
Yeah, okay.
So there's a lot in there.
A lot in there. I might actually repeat a couple of those. So one, my leadership style is this. I like to hire great people, and then they tell me what to do, okay? I'm not gonna hire somebody and then I tell them what to do, because what's the point, right? I use this with my cabinet all the time. I say, guys, we got 8 of us in this room. If all of us disagree, if all of us agree, then I can get rid of 7 of y'all, right? So why are y'all here? We're here to kind of come up with the best answer. So my leadership style is, I believe in servant leadership. I believe once you get to the central office, in some places, you get to the central office, it's like, I made it. I can kind of kick my feet up and kind of relax. I don't have to deal with the headaches every single day with, with kids and parents and everything else. No, when you get to the central office, it's because you want to serve. Our principals and our teachers are on the front line. So if principal calls you and they need you, you dropping everything and seeing what you can do to help. I believe in servant leadership. I believe in giving them resources. I believe in coaching them. But again, I like to hire good people, give them the resources that they need. We have those check-ins, right? And we make sure that we're on the same page as far as the vision and what we need to accomplish. But I hired you because you're smart, you're intelligent, and I need you to do your job, okay? So that's how I am with that.
Any positions you would add to the cabinet?
So right now, I'm evaluating that as we speak, all right? I've seen the org chart. I like the way it's structured. What I'm going to do once I get in there, though, is evaluate every single position we have and examine its impact on kids. If we don't have an impact on kids, then we got to make a decision on whether that position is needed, because anything that we can save in the central office, we can put back into the schools. So we need a central office. It's required work that needs to be done. But if we have redundancy or there's not an impact for children learning, then we have to determine whether or not that position is needed. So that's kind of where I am with that.
And then just division on the board?
Yeah,
Division with St. George?
Yeah. So
There's like 5 questions in one.
I know it's a lot.
I have an opportunity.
So I'll take division with the board first, and then I'll take St. George last. Division, you have 9 members on the board in this huge city. Everyone isn't going to agree on everything. It's my job as a superintendent to be neutral. It's my job to try to bring everyone together and to provide them information. So if we have just groups, that have different perspectives on an issue. My job is to say this, okay, if there's an agenda item that's coming up and I know it's going to be divisive, my job is to come to you and say, all right, Amanda, if you vote yes on this, this is what's going to happen. If you vote no on this, this is what's going to happen. Now, what do you want to do, or what do you need? Do you need more information on that? I try to be the person that tries to bring everyone together, because at the end of the day, I think public disagreement is bad for the system. That's just what I believe. I believe that behind these closed doors, let's lock it up, take our shirts, unloosen our ties, let's get to it. But when we go out there in front of the public and we run this 41,000 student school system, we're going to be professional, and we want to put our best face forward, because that's going to inspire confidence in what we're trying to do as a system. So that's my beliefs on that. With the St. George issue, that's been an issue that's been going on for over a decade, right? Didn't realize when me and my wife bought a house that we live in St. George. So I was like, they're gonna ask me to move? I don't know, but so that is an issue. But the folks in St. George, I haven't met with anybody from St. George. I believe that if I'm elected or selected as a superintendent, something that's going to happen is I want to meet with those folks who want to start, well, I don't want to put words in their mouth. I know it started as wanting to create a new school system. Now they created a city. They've said they're putting the school system on ice for a while, and so I'm taking them for their word on that. But eventually, I like to sit down and talk with them about why, what are you not receiving here in this community that wanted you to pull away? I need to understand why they wanted to start a different school system in the first place. And that's what I think as a superintendent in this parish, I have to listen to all constituent groups, okay, all groups. I won't refuse a meeting with anybody, okay? And so I'm going to listen and then learn and then put things in place to see what we can do to make things better. But thanks for that question. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
We know that education, specifically literacy, is an economic issue. It's not just an education issue. I hear when you say that you plan to put some focus on STEAM and STEM education, and we need that for innovation. Obviously, we need literacy for the foundation. Knowing that we've tried to reach every student every day, and that EBR is the only school district in the state that's been assigned a special education master, knowing that we've left many of those students behind, they will likely not reach those literacy and STEAM programs. How do you prioritize?
Yeah.
How do you make the decision to prioritize which programs, and how do you support students, educators, families, especially in the special education sector?
Yeah, so one, I could just tell you straight up, literacy is the primary focus. It is the priority. You can't do STEAM with a kid or STEM with a kid if they don't know how to read and they're having problems reading, okay? So literacy, if you do that well, if you invest in that and you ensure that kids are coming out of third grade in their own grade level, then that just opens up the doors to all sorts of paths, all right? So the priority for me would definitely be literacy early on to make sure that by the time they leave third grade, they're on grade level. That's the priority, because then those kids can do so much more. They can do whatever it is they want to do because they're going to be literate. They can read, they can understand, they can break things down. They can, so that would be the priority. As far as the special education master, that was, when the state came out with that, I was calling friends like, what is that? And we were like, well, you don't know, we never heard of it. We've never heard of that happening in the state before. And so that tells you right there that that's a major issue for us in East Baton Rouge Parish. That is something that I've already identified who I need to speak with at the State Department to understand the severity of the issues, and the issues that made the state superintendent make that decision is unprecedented. And so that tells me right there, there's some issues. There's some issues. And that's not me saying that, that's the State Department saying that. Okay, and so we have to look at ourselves and figure out what are we going to do differently, because we got to do something different, because what we've done has led us to a special master in special education. Those are our most vulnerable kids. Those are our most vulnerable kids, and we have to make sure that we're doing a better job with them. And I'm just using what the State Department has done in assigning that special master to us. So early on, obviously, there'll be a meeting with those folks at the State Department to understand the issues. And I'm sure usually when the state does something like that, they issue out a corrective action plan. So we have to make sure, where are we on that plan? Where are we doing this with fidelity? Where are the issues? Don't want to get blindsided 6 months from now and they're saying something else. What are the issues that we have that we still need to address once I take the office? So thanks for that question.
You had mentioned trust and listening to employees and the public and to the administration and getting feedback, which is amazing and great, and I'm glad you were embarking on that. However, with all your experience and years of experience that you have, what are some ideas and programs and thoughts that you might have that you would bring to the EBR school system that have been successful in other locations that you did?
Yeah, so this is what has been successful for me everywhere I've gone. I've created, probably around 2010, 11, I created what was called an academic strategy on how you address, because a lot of, sometimes you go into a system or people go in and they don't have a strategy or process. They just come in and start doing school. You got to have a process on what you're doing in 4 main categories. I believe in, a robust goal-setting process. A lot of people say, well, goal-setting, what big deal, right? No, the whole process of setting a goal means that you're evaluating your data, breaking down to the strand where you are weak at in your schools, and then setting goals to address that. The second thing is about instruction and curriculum. So one, now the state has kind of made it kind of easy for you to select tier 1 curriculum that are aligned to the standards. So that part is kind of easy, but the instruction part, are we teaching the things that need to be taught in order for kids to be, successful in the end? The thing I find also that's usually a pain point for schools who are unable to move the needle is that when assessment-wise, do our assessments look like the end of the year assessments? All right, if a kid sits down for the first time and they have a state assessment on a computer and they have to be able to do different things on the computer, and we've never done that all year long, then we've done a disservice to that kid. So how do our assessments look, and do our assessments look like the end of the year? Third thing is observation and feedback. That sounds simple, and be honest with you, a lot of schools don't put a lot of emphasis on the observation and feedback part. They'll do it for compliance, but they're not doing it to get better, all right? You should have a robust observation and feedback process, and not only those formal observations and informal observation, but just what are you doing every day as a school leader to improve the effectiveness of your school, of your teachers. You have to have a robust plan. You can't just be a compliance, oh, I got it done. Hey, come sign this. I've been there where, hey, come sign your observation. Oh, great. No, we have to take all of that stuff serious, and if we want to be serious about improving our craft. And then the last thing is, collaboration. We have to create the space and place for schools to be able to talk about student work, to talk about the things that are having issues with. The biggest thing for me when you create that space and place for teachers to talk about the work that they're doing is two things. One, you're analyzing student work. If you give an assignment and you're looking at that with your colleagues and you're looking at the errors that students are making, that informs your instruction now. Say, oh, okay, you know what? Half of my class didn't do this portion right, so I as you know, like I remember I talked about personalized failure earlier, I did not instruct something well on this part, so let me go back and do that. When teachers look at student work, they begin to become better teachers. So, and all of that sits on the underline of culture. If you don't have good culture, it's going to eat up anything else you're trying to do. So obviously establishing that culture in your schools. So I know it may not be sexy, but it's a strategy that works, because every single school you will be able to see those tenets of an academic strategy. You won't have to guess on what we're doing or how we're trying to do it, because every school have these tenets in place. It may look a little bit different in every spot, but you'll be able to identify those 4 pillars of the academic strategy in there. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Yes.
Yes, Mr. George.
Yes, ma'am.
As some of the other panelists have talked about, we're like 100 days from the beginning, really 30 days from the beginning of school. And as I look at the EBR website, there are over 100 positions available for teachers. So what is your plan? We've talked about a lot of things, but we need good teachers, certified teachers in the classroom. So with that many open positions, what would be your plan to get those positions filled with certified teachers? And with 30 days away from school.
And if I could follow up with that
Sure.
question. Also, how would you address the concerns of your teachers? One, being support in the classroom, but also promotion, where they may be adverse or contrary to the school board.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. So a couple of things. One, teacher recruitment, all districts in the state and across the country are battling the same issue as far as teacher recruitment. People have done a lot of different things, right? They've offered bonuses for people coming in, for just a myriad of things. Not a real big proponent of offering bonuses for people to come in because my teachers that are already there are like, what about me? I'm already here. What you giving me? So here's the thing with teacher recruitment. First of all, you got to try different things. You got to, and then I'm gonna tell you what my real answer, long-term answer is. I'm gonna give you quick things because we're talking about the start of school. You know, one, you have to, you know, what are we doing? How are we recruiting? How are we advertising? Where's our teacher pay stand in terms of, you know, the surrounding districts? Because we're in a big area, but we also got a lot of districts around us that are paying some really good money when you start talking about Zachary, Ascension, West Baton Rouge, and those guys. So how does our salaries stack up against everybody, and what can we do to increase that so that at least money isn't an issue about where people are deciding, okay? We have to, you know, we have to partner with organizations that will take people who've already decided to work with us, maybe, you know, people who are already non-certified teachers who we know we are employing right now. Let's make sure that they're enrolled in programs in order to try to get them certified because they've already shown that they want to work here. So let's make sure that they get the credentials that they need to be a certified teacher in our district. The biggest thing as working in schools for all these years, the greatest recruitment tool for teachers in our school systems is our teachers, you know, are our teachers. If we treat them well and we have trust and unity and we have a high morale in our school system, they're going to be the ones to get those teachers into the school system. And conversely, if they feel like they're not being treated well, they don't have trust, they don't feel like they're being treated fairly and consistent, then they're going to tell people, don't come work here. So how do you create that space where teachers are your biggest recruiters? Again, you have to listen to them, you have to talk to them, you have to implement their feedback into whatever initiatives that you're trying to implement around the district so that they feel a part of the district. They feel respected. They feel valued. They feel respected and valued. They're going to call their friend that works in Ascension right now and say, girl, this is a new day over here. This is Kevin Joy. He's listening to us. He's doing this. You might want to come over here. You know, our pay is coming up. He's doing some different things for us. So that's that's the long-term answer and how you eliminate those teacher vacancies because everyone's doing the bonus. Everyone's doing this. So it has to be something else besides those things. And I'm sorry, your question.
With regards to the needs and concerns of your teachers, when it can be contrary to what your school board, your boss, has in mind for the school.
Gotcha. So that would be a problem if those two aren't on the same page, right?
Which they haven't been recently.
Right. So if teachers are saying, and it depends on what the issue is, right? If we're talking about working conditions, we're talking about curriculum things, you know, that's kind of the teacher's purview, right? There are some things that the school board has to do that teachers may not understand fully, and it's my job and my team's job to make sure that they understand that, look, the school board is doing this and here's their rationale and here's the reasons why they're doing those things. Our job as central office team is that to make sure there is no us versus them. How can we get to the same page? We go nowhere if it's us versus them, okay? Yes, sure. Mm-hmm.
very close to a group of teachers, and I think there's a feeling among, I can't say all of your teachers, that some of the past leadership has sacrificed a climate of inclusion and building culture for a driving their own personal mission.
Okay. So I'm sorry, what's, so,
Well,
yeah.
How do you build that climate and culture of inclusion with the teachers?
Gotcha.
How do you make
Yep.
them feel that they matter?
So in the
Yeah.
past,
Mhm.
teachers have felt like they haven't been heard.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
had complaints and concerns, whether it's been in the classroom or promotions. I know you talked about not willing to give more money, but that's
Mhm.
definitely been a hot topic
Mhm.
in the media. So how do you intend to convince the teachers that you are here for them and
Mhm.
that they will be heard, some of the concerns, maybe not all?
Yeah.
So
So to be clear, what I said was bonuses for new people coming in because I value the people that are already there. All right, if we're going to give money, we're giving money to all of our teachers to raise them up. So this is how I will respond to that. We have to, in St. John, I created what was called a teachers council. I also had a parent council, district-wide, right? Because every teacher can't get to, the call to superintendent. Everyone can't, I guess they could send an email, but it's just more efficient if there's some type of mechanism where I can regularly hear from teachers. So when I was superintendent, we created what was called a teachers council, along with, we had a parent council from around the district as well. And this was the avenue for them to get specific issues that teachers were encountering directly to me. Not filtered through the principal, not filtered through one of the supervisors, not filtered through a school board member or anything. They got to speak directly to me through their specific council or member. If there's nothing present like that here today, then that's something that definitely needs to be created so that teachers have a voice and don't feel like, who's listening to us? The superintendent's making this decision, board's making this decision, chiefs are making this decision. No one has asked us a question. Again, as I said earlier, if you don't get input from the people who actually have to implement the things you want to do, it just won't work. It won't work well because they'll just be doing it just to do it, not because they feel it's going to make a difference in their classrooms. Mhm. Yep. Yes.
As the CEO of the chamber, one of my priorities is to identify economic opportunity for every part of the region, and that includes every part of the parish. We were talking about declining enrollment, so it's going to leave some facilities available for dreaming of what's possible with those properties. We've seen other states use those as catalytic opportunities for underserved communities. Have you given any thought to what you might do with some of those properties or who you might partner with? And if you could share maybe how you've looked to best practices in other parts of the country or the world to bring good ideas to your own district.
Yeah, so part of the one thing I believe in is continuous learning. So I always immerse myself with different groups, different training, because I want to go here. I want to talk to my colleagues that's in DC or in Washington State or in California, Florida, or in everywhere in between. So I go and I make sure that I have a team of people that I can readily call to about different things and how they're handling certain issues, or what about this idea and that idea. So the one thing about our buildings, if we do consolidate and there are buildings just that we're not using anymore, then yeah, we want to find out, okay, how can we do this? How can we create, what is needed in this community where this school now exists? Since we're not using it as a school now, how can we use that to better that community? I'm all open to that, and all of those things will be, viable avenues for us if we get to a point when we're, consolidating schools and we have buildings that we're not using. What are we going to now do with those buildings? Okay, we don't want them just standing there, right? What can we do to help our community? What things are required and needed in those communities? And all open to all of those different things. And I just have a network of superintendent friends across the country that we always are talking about different ideas about how they're doing this and how they're doing that. So very excited about, a lot of people look at that as, as challenges and things, but I get excited when I think about what can we do and with those opportunities. So Yes.
George, I'd love to follow up on that.
Yes.
Right now, we have many schools that are under-enrolled. Yet every time, almost every time, there has been a try by the superintendent to close the school or consolidate. It's often met by objection from either parents, teachers, school board members. How would you, if you see, and you mentioned with the very first question, that you knew that there may be fewer schools, that you wanted them to be A and B schools, how would you deal with that situation of knowing that some schools are going to have to be closed or consolidated, yet there's going to be a lot of opposition to it from all different directions? How will you deal with that?
Yeah, that is the hardest thing a superintendent and a board has to do is close schools. No one, the community, no one wants to close their school if it's in their neighborhood, period. I don't know if you can convince them otherwise. The only thing you can do, when that great passion comes, because there'll be people at the school board meeting yelling, screaming, and accusing board members, accusing the superintendent of all kinds of things, you have to combat that with data, all right, and showing the need to do the hard thing. Showing data, which includes what are the numbers in the school, how much money can you save, where now are people going to attend schools. All those things have to be hashed out and presented transparently and showing people why, this is why we're making this decision. And we need your help and your input on where, maybe the lines are being drawn, and as far as, school attendance zones now. But you have to show the data. You have to show them the need. You have to show them why you're doing this. Okay, is it because you'll be accused of all sorts of things, right? But you have to show, no, we have this many kids here, half a mile down the road, we only have this many kids, so yes, this building, how much money we're pouring into this building every year because it is old or whatever the case may be. And now, here, kids gonna have better service because now we won't need as many teachers, so the number of uncertified teachers will go down. You won't need as many administrators, won't need as many school nurses, bus transportation, all those things. You have to lay those things out in a logical manner. Now you're going to do it, and you're still going to have the heat, but at least.
Have you done it, and have you taken the heat?
So we've tried to do it. We've tried to do it. We presented all the information. And then the board decided, we too close. We're good. We're good right now. So, but now a district is looking to close schools when this probably should have been done 7 years ago.
So on the opposite end of that, Mr. George, so let's say you're able to turn the district around, right? You got
Yes.
a lot of A and B schools.
Mhm.
Right now, we're not there yet, right? So how do you have a lot of budgetary constraints. So what innovative ideas do you have around bringing more funding, more grants, more resources to the district so that we can or you can improve where we are right now and take us to the next step?
Yeah, I think that's one of the gifts that I do have. I have connections with so many different organizations, so many different people who, I know that I can call upon for different grants to put in place here in this district. Some of the ideas I have are one, just looking at our universities that are here. When you're talking about the 2 land grants, you're talking about Southern University, you're talking about LSU, you're talking about BRCC. We have a wealth, and I know there's partnerships already, but we can improve upon those partnerships. I know the things that we can do because I currently work over there at LSU now, and I know what everyone said. We hope you get this job because these are some of the things we want to do and can do with EBR if the school board wants to implement some of these things. Besides that, national organizations, national funders, there is a need, there is a want that come into the school system to help us, whether it's STEM, whether it's teacher education programs, whether it's grow your own programs, whether it's beefing up different assessment models. There are different there are different things that I can bring into the school system that can help us, fill in some of the gaps with our money. We don't have to use our own money for some of these things that we can do. So I'm excited about the opportunity, about, receiving this appointment and then going into action. So those are just a few.
Mr. George, I have a question.
Well, I'm gonna ask, can you
Yep.
follow with a specific example that
Mhm.
you received a grant for a particular program in another school system?
Yeah, sure. So we received, I'll talk about first the NSF grant that we received to work with EBR last year with the Eva LaGuardia School. We did an NSF grant, it was a small one, probably about $400,000 or $500,000 that we were used to provide training and to provide, a professor to come over to Eva LaGuardia. We had the 2 graduate assistants who were there every week, and that was through a grant. Also, when I was in St. John, I received a national grant, that same TAP program that I was talking to Darlene about. That was about $5.7 million that we received. So those are just specific things that I've done in previous places. Yep.
All right,
Yes.
Jump in.
Yes.
Quick.
Yes.
So I heard you speak of partnerships with post-secondary institutions, specifically the land-grant institutions. Obviously, my question is going to come from a perspective of student access and success, and making sure that kids, once they leave K through 12, that there's a very distinct pipeline, whether they're going into college or into a career path. Give me 2 or 3 ideas that you would like to implement, specifically for first-time, first-generation students, to promote that type of accessibility for those students, moving from, again, K through 12 into either a career, work-ready, or post-secondary education pipeline.
Right. No, thanks for that question. So a couple of things there. One, EBR took the gigantic step, I think last year or maybe the year before, about offering dual enrollment opportunities to every kid. That was faced with a lot of, raised eyebrows. I was one who believed that you give kids opportunities and they'll surprise you. And I think the results have been pretty good here. So that's something that we want to build upon. We need to ensure that there's a track for kids to get an associate's degree before they leave college, before they leave high school. There's a group of kids out there that we know have the will, the wherewithal to persevere and to get that associate's degree before they go into college. When we talk about programs, one of the programs I'm associated with at LSU is called the Future Scholars Program, where we have a lot of the EBR kids. It's about 40 kids that go through a program, and if they complete the program successfully, they receive a full scholarship to go into LSU. So those are 2 right there, but we got to continue to build upon that. And my thing is that we want to, again, start early, that our kids are prepared, and that's why we go all the way back to 3rd grade, so that when kids do get into high school, they are able to take more advantage of the dual enrollment opportunities that are out there for them. That there shouldn't be, I see a world in which all of our kids are graduating high school, the kids that, want to go on to post-secondary, that they're leaving with at least 15 to 30 hours of credits. And then, of course, our high flyers, our high performers, they're going to be receiving their associate's degrees once they get out of here. So, but it starts with those high expectations, and I don't like when people put ceilings on kids. Give them the opportunity, have those high expectations for them, prepare them, and then give them those opportunities. So,
I like the idea of advancing the kids as you're talking about, but what about the kids who don't want to go to college or frankly shouldn't be in college? I grew up in a small town in the south here, and even though it was a million years ago, they seem to have that track a lot better than we do today, in that when kids went into their junior year in high school, if they really weren't going to be college students, they had the opportunity to go to the local trade school while they were in high school, and many of them graduated from high school with certifications as mechanics, electricians, refrigeration specialists. What can we do more to take care of those needs? greatest detriments we have in that is we don't have a skilled workforce.
So, Mr. Jordan, before you answer that, to add on to this question, what is your priorities around internships and job visits for your high school students to build a pipeline that Mr. Bender talked about and Dr. Williams talked about?
Sure, okay.
And keep them in Louisiana.
And to what?
Keeping them in
And keeping them in Louisiana. Yes. My son lives in California, my older daughter lives in Tallahassee, so I want them to come home too, all right? So here's the deal. And then my middle daughter, she's in school at Loyola, she's a sophomore, I hope she stays. So one, my dad was a welder, as I told you, and there's a lot of money to be made in some of the skills that are there, and so you don't have to go to college, okay? Our job as a school system is to prepare you for whatever it is that you want to go to. If you want to go to college, great, we're preparing you for that. If you want to go right into the workforce, we're preparing you for that as well. I want to make sure that we're sending the message to kids that you can do whatever it is that you want to do, and we're going to prepare you for whatever it is that you want to get done. So there is, I want y'all to pick up your phone right now and call the AC guy and see when they're going to come to your house, okay? It's probably going to be at least a week, right? And so plumber, same thing, carpenter, good luck with getting a person there, within a week or two. So, there's demand for these jobs. As I talk to, I'm a nerd, so I like talking to people when they come to the house and work on something. And, my HVAC guy was like, I could hire as many people as I want, because of the demand, the people that call, that need service. I could hire as many people as I want, but where are they? Where are they? I can't find them. So there is a need, there is a trade, and I think we need to show kids that there's value in this work, and you can make money in this work, okay? And so I know when my dad welded, I wasn't doing that. It was hot, it's hard work, but he was a hard worker. He tells me, you don't have a job, well, you can go in the air conditioning. So, it takes a person that wants to do that kind of work, who wants to be outside, who doesn't mind getting their hands dirty and all those good things. But those are great jobs, and you can make a lot of money and make a really good living. And I'm sorry, both of y'all added things on there, but.
So I was more like the work-based learning, the
Okay.
job shadowing,
Yeah.
internships.
Those are the things I think are just extremely important. When you do a job shadowing or an internship, you determine whether or not that's the job you really want. Because sometimes you think that's what you want until you actually go there and you spend 6 weeks doing that work, and it's like, nah, I don't really want to do that. All right, so those are so important. But then at the same time, if you do say, oh yeah, this is my jam, this is what I like to do, then you learn those skills, you meet those people who are in those fields, and it cements what you want to do. So it creates a lot of learning, and I think we have to do more of that. And when you look statewide, there's not a lot of that happening. There's not a lot of partnerships. So all of you guys come from different organizations. We want to continue to build upon that, because I know we've started to do those things, but it's not where it needs to be. We need to expand that, open it up, make sure more kids have more opportunities to go get this on-the-job learning. My kids, because I'm who I am, I could pick up the phone, call different people. Hey, my daughter wants to shadow you because she's thinking about being an internal med. So, everybody can't do that. So what can we do as a school system to provide those opportunities? And I'm sorry, what was your question about?
I think
Okay.
Louisiana, I think
Keep
all of
Louisiana,
us,
yeah.
what skills
Yes.
we're gonna enhance while they're in high school.
Yeah.
So that they can get out and get a job and be
And so many of our kids leave. So many of our kids leave. There's opportunities here, but are we preparing them for the jobs that are here that can provide them the basis to make a good living? And, it just starts off with making sure that they have the skills that they need to do well. You know, in order to go to college, you know ACT, SAT, people are looking at that, even though they kind of got away from a couple of years, but it looks like it's starting to come back as far as those assessments. So again, if we do our job well, it just changes the trajectory of our kids, and then we rely on the business community to provide opportunities that people won't have to leave. They can stay in Baton Rouge, stay in Louisiana, make a good living, and don't have to leave and go to California or go to Florida for a job that pays them what they feel they deserve.
Can I ask you a question on the flip side of that?
Yes.
I care a lot about talent recruitment. Our team is working with the chamber on a talent attraction campaign for the city to bring more young people here. I hired for a large team at LSU. I worked at LSU for 9 years with a team full of national talent that I was able to attract in, and I hired for my company at 368. And the education system is consistently a barrier to attraction. It is complicated given the rich diversity, I'll say, of options that the city has, and understanding how to navigate it is not something that is intuitive for most people coming in from the outside. So what would you do to make it easier? I mean, are you open to, a single timeline or comprehensive online enrollment? How are you going to make it? Exactly. How are you going to, it's not only going to serve the children in our city in potentially increasing access to quality education, but also help with recruitment and simplifying the system. What would be your approach?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that there's a complicated system of trying to enroll your kids into school. One of the things that I was a part of in New Orleans was the one app system. No matter what school you wanted to apply to, there was one application process. Okay, so why are we not doing that already? I don't know, but we need to figure that out to make it very simple and very easy for parents as they move into the city or they're trying to locate and figure out where they want to live based on school. If they have small kids, that's a huge factor. I mean, working where I work now, I know how important it is. I mean, I will have people tell me, if my child doesn't get into this school, then we're not taking this job. Period. And so we know how big a factor that is, and that's why it's so important for the public school system to thrive. You don't want people to feel like they have to spend money to receive what we should be giving them already. All right. And my job and my role as a superintendent is to raise the level of performance of all of our schools. And I tell you what, like as Donna said a little earlier, 5 years from now, we are going to be hitting that stride because I know how to move schools. So again, some type of one app process. We shouldn't have to send people all different places, and just making that process simple, and that's relatively easy to do. Yes.
I was curious, I was watching your video or reading something about you, and you said something about 6 years being a long time to be a superintendent. So I went and looked up the national average. Superintendent is in their role for an average of 3.6 years. Personally, I feel like what we're up against is a generational challenge, a lot longer than 3.6 years.
Absolutely.
How do you think about taking on a role like this at such an important moment in this community's trajectory and make a lasting difference for a generation in 3 years?
Yeah.
3 points. I mean, I'll take Donna's 5, but how do you think about doing that in such a short period of time? What's your mindset for something like that? I don't think any of us would have taken on our roles knowing that we had a 3-year time window to make a generational difference.
And then follow that up with, what would be the headline in the Advocate when you left of your success?
Well, let me tell you something. Everyone has told me, they say, you're just going to have about 2 or 3 years, right? I mean, this is an interview, so I think that's the only time you can kind of brag on yourself is during an interview, because you're telling people why you should be the superintendent. I feel like I'm going to be here 10 years. I did 6 years in St. John and left on my own accord because I went to help in New Orleans. So I know how to do this work in a manner that provides longevity. So I don't look at it as I have 2 point something years. Because I think when people look at it like that, they start making rash decisions and quick things to try to get quick wins. I'm interested in improving the school system. And so however long that's going to take, I'm going to do it. I feel like I'm going to be here 10 years. I feel like I'm young. I'm in pretty decent shape. I exercise daily to manage my stress levels and all those good things. I'm prayerful. I have a great wife, support at home. Empty nest right now, so I don't have kids to bring to soccer practice and all that stuff. So I'm ready to go all in on this school system and to make it great. And I don't feel like I have 3 point whatever years, whatever that average is. It's a reality. I know that, but I know what I bring to the table. I know the work that I do. And in 10 years, when it's finally like my wife's like, look, 10 years, that's enough, you need to leave. Donna, I think WBRZ or the Advocate is going to say, Kevin George, a decade of excellence, and lay out the things that we were able to accomplish. We have kids that are graduating with associate degrees. We have multiple internships with all just the various businesses in the East Baton Rouge area. You have ACT scores that are that are way beyond the national average, a graduation rate that we have schools coming from all across the country to recruit our kids to go to school there. We have people who are staying in the system. We have a school system where the enrollment has grown because our schools have gotten so much better that we, instead of 41,000 kids, we have 48,000 kids. So those are some of the things that you'll see under my superintendent.
Mr. George,
Yes, ma'am.
Really appreciate how much we're getting into talking about what we're gonna do to move the school system and the investments in our students and in the faculty, just everything you talked about. When you think about parental or guardian engagement, do you have thoughts on how to improve that engagement? Just thinking about the full picture to make to drive success. How important is that, and what do you plan to do?
Yeah, so I always talk with parental engagement. I tell people this, and they look at me like it was that simple. First, you got to ask them. You got to ask them how they want to be engaged. And every district, every community can be a little bit different with that. When you ask them, okay, guys, we had a open house and we only had 50 families come up, and we got a school of 500 kids. That's a problem. What are we doing wrong? Is it the day of the week? Is it the time? Did you ask the parents, like, what time works best for them? Do we always have to have open house at night? Do we have to, do we provide babysitting? One of the things I did when I was a principal was after one of those low turnouts, we were like, we just asked parents, like, what's the issue? And it's like, well, you had it in the middle of the week. I got to feed my kids. I don't have nobody to watch them, whatever. So one of the things we did is that we had childcare and we provided dinner. Okay, y'all come listen to the teacher. We're gonna provide childcare. We're gonna provide dinner. We're gonna do those things. So when you start to ask your community, it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. So, but you got to engage. In order to engage parents, you have to just ask them. You have to ask them questions. You have to talk to them about, okay, how can you be more engaged, or how can we get you to the school? And parent engagement doesn't always have to be them coming to the school, right? What are some things that you can do in the community, right? Or what can they do at home with their children in order to show some parent engagement? So every school needs to take that initiative to reach out to their parents and talk to them, and whether it's survey, whether it's phone call, whether it's focus group, whatever. How can we get you more engaged in school? Because we know the school's gonna be better with you being an active member of it. So you have to get out there and you have to talk to people. Yep.
So, Mr. Judge, one more thing. I know we're almost out of time.
Yes.
But one of the things that crosses along the lines of many of the questions, in my opinion, is the soft skills that the students are lacking. I had an intern from EBR that came to my plant, and I would say that the soft skills, being able to communicate, timeliness, all those things weren't there. Have you done, implemented anything like that in your past work?
Yes. So, and this is the reason why it came up. When I was working in Lafourche, we were creating a career magnet center. Basically, welding, auto mechanic, process technology, all those different things. And so when I would speak to the business leaders in the parish, the very first thing that came up and say, I need to come to work on time. I need to dress appropriately. They need to know how to, to speak well. We'll teach them what they need to do, but give us this, man, please. And so, so those were some of the things that we say, okay, we got to go back to soft skills. We got to make sure that our kids understand that how they present themselves, going to work every day, being on time, how you treat people in the workplace. All those soft skills were things that we incorporated into the curriculum at the Career Magnet Center. And so that's some of the things that, I mean, those are important things because.
I have to make time for it, though, 'cause I'm
Oh, yeah, you got, yeah, so what we tell folks is that, sometimes teachers will say, well, I don't have time to get through all of my curriculum. If you don't have time to get through the curriculum, this is what industry is saying, that because the industry is going, no matter, because where you go someplace, there's going to be different ways and different methods on how you do certain things at that specific place. But if they don't come with the soft skills, then you won't get them in there. So you make time, you include it, you create. So we had our teachers create a curriculum on soft skills. And that was incorporated into, we put it into like one of the basic classes that the kids had when they got there as a freshman, and then we had it again as a part 2 as a senior, so because of the time gap. So, but those are some of the things that we did to ensure that, because if you don't have the soft skills, then you probably won't get a chance to use the skills that you learn. Yeah.
Thank you, business leaders, for all of your questions. We are running up on the end of our time, and we do have one question from the audience, so I wanted to hand it over to this gentleman over here. Oh, yeah, I'll give you the cards back. Who will ask this question of the candidate? And you will first.
There's essentially 2 questions. One, I admire your courageous and in your sense of presence.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Most of the questions have been good. What and when kinds of questions. What are you going to do and when? My question is, why are we in the situation we are in generation after generation? Why? How does that persist? And how is this perpetuated? Almost the same perpetuated. Why are we here? How does it persist? How is it perpetuated?
Wow.
The last question is, talking about doing something different. You have demonstrated your resourcefulness outside the top. But how familiar are you, and this goes to Lauren's question, how familiar are you with the 25-year turnaround of Finland's school system to become one, if not the best, school system in the world?
Okay. All right, thanks. So a couple of things. I think your first question revolved around how do we get in this situation, or how the situation prepare. Right. So, well, we're here because the school board made a decision and to hire, a superintendent. And in terms of, I believe I'm reading your question as in terms of education, why it always seems like we're in the same, we're like spinning our wheels, right? It's because, in my opinion, that we don't address the core issue, or you don't attack the problem where it needs to be attacked. And I start off, or at some point today I said that, John Hattie, we were talking about research, John Hattie says that, did research. The research shows that the #1 indicator on whether a child is going to learn or to have student achievement, improved achievement, is teacher efficacy, right? The teacher in the classroom, all right? Above all else, no matter what's going on, no matter what's going on in the home, if you have an amazing teacher, that teacher will move that child along. Now, it helps if you have the home life and everything is great, but that's the #1 impact, and that's what research says. According to John Hattie, it's been done time and time again since about, I think 2008 is when he first did it. He did it again in 15, I think did it again in 19. It always comes down to the teacher. And so when you start focusing on other things, okay, that takes away from pouring into the most important thing, the most important piece of the educational puzzle, which is making sure that your teachers have the resources, make sure they have the training, and make sure they have the required support to teach those kids. So again, teacher in the classroom, effective leader in the building, because when you have that effective leader now in the building, okay, then that person can help elevate everyone that's there, okay? Takes the average teacher, makes them great, so on and so forth. You also, I'm sorry, because you asked a couple of, what else am I missing there?
How familiar are you
With
with the 25-year
Finland.
turnaround in Finland to become one of the highest regarded education systems in the world? It is so well regarded that it's not even on the World Education Reform Movement data. It's so far above it.
Yeah.
You wonder where's Finland, and you have to go off the chart. How familiar are you with their system and their turnaround in their school?
I'm not that familiar with it. I do recall reading things probably about a decade ago about some of the things that Finland was doing. Again, the research that I'm very familiar with is with John Hattie and his work in working with, American schools. I won't even try to tell you that I know exactly what Finland has done. Okay? Yep. All right, no problem.
Thank you all. I think that's all the time that we have for today. And if you have anything else, just please let us know. All right? Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks for all the questions. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you all so much. Cool. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's okay. That's no problem. Yeah.